Okay, we're going to be talking about how to do Kitchener stitch grafting on one needle. Kitchener stitch grafting is usually done on 2 needles, but we're going to do the same process on 1 needle, skipping the step of separating the stitches onto 2 needles. Traditionally, you would take 2 separate needles and you would slide all of the red stitches onto 1 needle and all of the gray stitches onto the other needle, and then you would hold the 2 needles together and do the Kitchener stitch between the 2 needles. We're going to skip that. So we're going to do the Kitchener stitch with the red yarn. So we're going to place it on a tapestry needle, and I usually use a tail that's 4 or 5 times longer plus some than the piece that I want to graft. It always seems like it takes more than what you think it will, so it's better to have too much yarn than not enough. So we're going to use the red yarn. The front stitches are the red, the back stitches are the gray. This is a double knitted swatch, and we're going to make a Kitchener stitch graft across the top that when it's finished it will look exactly like the 2-color alternating invisible cast on that we did for the start of the swatch. So we're going to start by taking the tapestry needle through the first stitch as if to purl, and pull the yarn all the way through. Then we're going to go behind the work and we're going to bring the needle forward between the first stitch and the second stitch, and then go through the second stitch as if to knit and pull the yarn all the way through, trying to keep all these tails out of it. Now we're ready. That was the setup. The next step is to go through the first stitch as if to knit, take it off the needle. With the tapestry needle, now go through the second stitch on the needle as if to purl and pull the thread all the way through. Now we're going to be working with the next 2 gray stitches, these 2 stitches, and we're going to work with those. So the first one, we're going to take the needle through as if to purl and take that first stitch off the knitting needle. Then with the tapestry needle we go behind the red stitch, come through, and then go through the second stitch, which is the gray stitch, as if to knit, and pull the yarn all the way through. And you can kind of snug up on it, not too tight. Now, that's the whole maneuver. So you go through the first stitch on the needle as if to knit, through the second stitch after that one's pulled off as if to purl, pull the yarn through. Now we're going to be working with the next 2 gray stitches. So we go through the first one as if to purl, removing it from the knitting needle, and then from behind bring the tapestry needle through between the next 2 stitches, and then down and through that gray stitch as if to knit, and pull the needle and the yarn all the way through. Fairly snug. You'll start to see that we're combining the stitches together. So we're going to do this again. We're going to go through the first stitch. We're working with the front fabric now. We're going to go through the first stitch as if to knit. The next red stitch, which is the front fabric, we're going to go through as if to purl. Now we're going to work with the opposite side. We're going to go through the first stitch as if to purl, go around behind the red stitch and up between the red and the gray, take the tapestry needle through the gray stitch as if to knit, and pull the yarn through. One more time. Through the front stitch as if to knit, skip the gray stitch, go through the red stitch as if to purl. We're working only with the red stitches on the front side. Now we're going to do the back side. We go through the first gray stitch as if to purl, bring it off the needle, go through the next gray stitch as if to knit, knit, purl, and then purl, purl off, knit and leave on. That's the little mantra I say to myself. I say knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on. Knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on. Knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on. Now we're down to the very last 2 stitches, and what we're going to do is we're going to knit this one off, purl this one off, pull the yarn through. Now let's look and see what we have. We have 2 fabrics, front and back, and they have the exact same edge for the cast on as they do for the bind off. They look exactly the same. This is the bind off edge. This is the cast on edge. This is our little double knit swatch with showing only one color on each side.